Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
It's not the first time we've introed with Gabagoo, Tom. We need a bigger holster.
Yeah.
We need our utility belt. We need more items.
Yeah. We gotta add.
Until then,
we gotta add more pouches to this thing.
Hi everyone.
Hello everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Cuba. It's the Square movie.
Mm-hmm.
A cube.
26 rooms high, 26 rooms across.
17,576 rooms.
Does anybody remember how they got here?
Why would they throw innocent people in here? Are we being punished?
There's a way in here, so there's gotta be a way out.
Do you think they'd go to all the trouble to build this thing if we could just walk out?
Take a good long look around. Because I got a feeling it's looking at us.
We have about 3 days without food and water before we're too weak to move.
I just want to wake up.
Well, okay, first of all, it's Thursday.
It is.
So I want to thank our Patreon subscriber, Burrito Mouth. New one.
Oh, well, welcome.
Yeah. Welcome, Burrito Mouth. And thank you for your support and for giving us this movie, Cube. If people haven't seen Cube, what is it, like 1998?
97.
It's 97? Yeah, that sounds about right. This is a 97 sci-fi. Tom, had you seen this movie before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Someone I know hadn't seen Cube.
Mm-hmm.
Had you seen it recently?
No, it's been probably, well, I think it's probably been over 10 years.
Same here. I think the last time I saw it was the first time I saw it, which was probably on VHS somewhere in 1998, 99 perhaps.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it a few times. I've seen this probably 3 or 4 times.
Okay. So what do you think about this movie?
I like Cube. The reason the reason why I've seen it a handful of times is I would keep getting into groups where Cube would come up and most people were like, I haven't even heard of that movie. And then like a few of us would be like, well, you got to watch it. So we would sit there and watch it. It's like one of those movies.
Yeah, I think I like Cube too. I do have some notes having not seen it for so long.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I guess we'll talk about it. But
yeah,
overall, I'm still pretty pro Cube here.
Right. I don't know how known Cube is. I feel like our generation, it was one of those big cult films that was like so cult that it wasn't cult anymore, where it's like, yeah, you got to watch Cube.
Well, that's kind of the definition of a cult film.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a group of people who wake up in a cube. It's a cube room, and there's hatches on every side of the cube, and they lead into other cubes. The cubes are about 17 by 17 feet is what they say, or something like that. And they all kind of find each other in this cube where certain rooms will kill you. They have elaborate booby traps, while others won't. And they have no food or water, and they have to slowly figure out how to get out of this cube. And over time, people start losing their minds a bit. Everybody is sort of in there for a reason, they realize. One of them is a mathematics student. One of them's a doctor. One of them, they learn, helped design the exterior of the cube, so has like a little bit of information about it. And they sort of wonder why they're in the cube, who made the cube. And spoilers, that remains ambiguous in the end.
Yes.
They run into a mentally disabled man who is, I'm pretty sure, a pretty 90s problematic
it's
depiction of a man with autism.
It's magic autism.
Yeah, it's a savant. He's a savant. It's a Rain Man situation, which is always, not great.
It's not great. No.
It's probably the worst part of the movie.
It's apart from this is a weird qualifier. Apart from the highly offensive magic autism, his performance isn't really that over the top.
Yeah, he doesn't go nuts with it or anything.
No, it's pretty. It's essentially behavior you will see in some autistic children or autistic people.
It's not as bad as
it's not as bad as it certainly could have been in 1997.
Yes. He also is the only one who gets out.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know this, Tom. Have you seen the Cube sequel?
I've seen Hypercube.
Hypercube, that was the sequel, right?
I haven't seen Cube Zero.
I don't know if I've seen Cube Zero. God, I could have. The 2002 Cube Hypercube has to deal with like fourth dimension and shit, right?
Yeah, like time moves differently in each of the rooms of the It's stupid. It's a stupid movie.
Stupid. If we want to count it as canon, it reveals that it is in fact the government doing this.
I don't want to count it as canon at all.
Neither do I. This is
we're talking about Cube. We don't need to talk about Hypercube. Hypercube can go kick rocks.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
The writer-director of this, this is a really cool example of, even whether or not you like this film, it's a great example of independent filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what the budget of this is. Oh, wow. It's
like nothing.
$350,000.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, they really just had to build one or two rooms and light them differently because every room looks the same. It's a really... there's some stop-motion animation in the effects, but the original script apparently was way more elaborate. There was cannibalism. There was a lot of surreal imagery. There was scenes that took place outside of the cube. There was a monster. It was supposed to be about hell.
Yes.
Yeah, and the writing partner kind of just stripped it down to booby traps. And that's really all they needed to, because it's more about the characters than anything else.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Lifeboat.
Yeah.
But less about, it really is less about paranoia. There's some elements of that, but really it's about one of the characters, Quentin, says something in the beginning about people eventually will reveal themselves to you, and that's kind of more what it's about.
Right.
You get an initial impression of this cast of characters, and then they kind of wind up being the opposite of what they seemed.
Yeah, they play with almost with movie tropes where I guess it depends on the era and when you're watching it, because I feel like in the 90s it was shocking, the turns.
It was, yeah. I remember
it now, it's less shocking.
Right, and I don't know if that's just because I know it's coming. I've seen it a few times.
I think because we've also gotten used to it as an audience, maybe, which doesn't diminish this film when it came out.
Yeah, maybe. I still think it's not even really all that common.
Yeah, that's true. Because the first guy that they focus on, they really make you assume he's the main character.
And that he is the hero.
Right. But we should have known because he's a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, this is inspired by a Twilight Zone episode. One that... Do you want to guess which one?
I know which one it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's the Toy Story one.
It's the Toy Story one. It's five strangers in search of an exit, I think.
Yeah. It's yeah.
They're a bunch of toys stuck in a toy box.
Yeah. Spoilers for the Twilight Zone. For the 1960s Twilight Zone. But yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, his transition is pretty good from hero to bad guy. I will say, rewatching it this time around, The weakest detail I don't know who to blame this on was kind of the performances, the dramatic scenes. They all kind of seemed like caricatures.
Everyone,
like the conspiracy lady,
Yeah.
like a lot of the lines are not great.
that was
Which is why, again, I'm not sure who to blame for this.
Yeah, that was the thing that I noticed watching this time is the performances, particularly in the scenes where they're that are supposed to be like these intense clashes between the characters are extremely over the top.
Yes. It's like theater, like bad theater.
Yeah, they're probably all theater actors.
Yeah.
But like the camera is like weirdly close in a lot of the shots. It's almost surreal in some parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of like 90s camera, I feel like.
Yeah.
Where it's very stylized.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody's screaming at each other. And the realization that now I realize is maybe why I don't hate the movie though, is that I don't like any of them except for the autistic guy who gets out. They're all kind of assholes at one point.
A little bit, yeah.
And then there's like the real Gen Xer guy who doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Who ends up making a turn to be a hero.
Yeah, or to be
give a shit.
To give a shit, yeah. Like he actually occupies the role that we expected Quentin to occupy, which is he really is concerned about getting everybody out of the cube.
Right.
Quentin just really is cares about himself.
It's like that classic film Doom. Mm-hmm. It's similar to that, where the characters that are almost like don't really want to be there slowly just muster up the motivation. When everything else falls apart, they finally step up.
Yeah.
And then the guy that's like, and I mean, the dynamic works really well. Like, it does make sense that the villain is a cop, because he has the same, he reminded me of The Rock in Doom, where like he's trying to have control.
Yes.
And he almost slowly becomes a fascist.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be big boss man. No one elected him that. Mm-hmm. He is the only one. He is like the most, or the second most proactive person, aside from the Alcatraz guy, the prisoner.
Oh, Ren
gets his fucking face
melted like immediately after they have this cool scene, or like, oh, he's the Ren. He can break out of any prison. Nah, and he got a face full of acid. Oh yeah, he's dead. He's super dead.
Deep Blue Sea moment.
Yeah, it's a real Deep Blue Sea moment. It's pretty great.
Yeah. Just they make him so in charge. He's like Riddick in Pitch Black.
Yeah, if Riddick immediately got sprayed in the face with acid.
Yeah.
And it's it's so undignified too.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like a cool sprayed in the face with acid like Drake and Aliens. It's like
no, he's screaming like Kermit. Yeah. He's like
he's gurgling like a Muppet.
Yeah, because it takes a second. Doesn't matter who you are. A spritz of acid in your face that'll take you down a peg. You know?
Yeah. It'll knock you off your high horse.
Yeah, they do that. They do this whole thing where he's using his shoes to figure out traps, and like seems like really like, you know, it's sort of like horror movies do this. They've done it since Jaws. It's why Quint dies. You know, spoilers for Jaws, because it's like let's take the most competent person and let's murder the shit out of him.
Yeah.
It's prison rules. You know, you get the biggest guy, you kick their ass, and so like it's.
They really they wharf him.
Yeah, they wharf him. Like it's
just picturing Worf getting sprayed in the face with acid.
I don't know. There might be an episode where that happens to Worf.
I would not be surprised if there was an episode where somebody threw a beaker of acid into Worf's face.
There's an entire episode where Worf gets paralyzed and then just begs people to kill him. Fucking Worf.
God damn it. Fucking Worf.
Get your shit together, Worf. The best one, because there's a montage of every time Worf got his ass kicked.
Yes, there is.
I think my favorite is there's a quiet moment where he just touches a computer panel and then it just electrocutes him and he's like, ah! Goes flying. It's like, come on, Worf.
The computer's kicking your ass now.
Get it together, man.
You're falling apart, Worf. Your life is falling apart.
You're terrible at this. Oh.
That's all I want to talk about now.
Just all the times Worf has gotten his ass kicked. There's a good one where Troy, while possessed by an alien, breaks his arm. That's a pretty good one. God, there's so
Worf.
many. But yeah, this guy fucking dies. He dies hard.
Yeah.
And like, again, it's a trope that I feel like nowadays we'd see coming a mile away. Because they, like you said, they spend a whole scene talking him up. Mm-hmm. And the way they shoot, which ends up kind of being used smartly, the way they shoot it, it's like a Deep Blue Sea situation where, you know, when you know a character will die just from the framing of the shot sometimes.
Yes.
And they give him one of those, and it's at least a second before he dies. It's like, oh, he's totally going to die. But then they repeat it later when the doctor goes into a room and she starts suffocating. And I thought this was a cute idea, which is that earlier they realize that if they suck on the buttons on their shirts, they don't dehydrate as fast.
Yeah.
And then she chokes on her button. And it's just a quick scene where they think the room has been poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, it's the damn button. I swallowed the button.
Yeah, just imagine Worf choking on a button.
Oh, definitely something he has done. Fucking Worf.
God damn it, Worf.
One of my favorite details with Worf is that he loves prune juice. It's an intentional joke of the show, is that the first time he drinks prune juice, he calls it a warrior's drink. Because, yeah, when you drink prune juice, you kind of assume it's, you know, for, like, people who are strong, because it tastes like shit.
Mm-hmm. And also, you're going to take a mean shit.
Yeah,
like Worf,
exactly.
Worf is regular as fuck.
I mean, we can talk all day about Worf shitting. Mm-hmm. The
just
things that
angry
Klingons
ass shit.
eat. Yeah. Oh, God, the worst.
Mm-hmm.
The worst type of shit. Like the worst thing in the galaxy. Just floating in space, one imagines. Because where does the shit go? I assume it goes into space.
Yeah, they shoot it out into space like Spock's body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why would you do anything
around,
else?
Bumping into Tommy Lee Jones.
Yep. Goes screaming into orbit above some terrible planet. Just Worf's shit. Circling it like
Worf
an asteroid belt.
That shit doesn't burn up. That goes straight to the ground.
No, it becomes a new moon.
Oh, yeah.
They're swirling around up there.
It's spinning. Parts breaking off. Mm-hmm. Crashing into things. Just picture it. Really picture it.
Yeah, just raining a meteor shower of Worf's shit.
Yeah.
Raining down on a planet like the Planet of the Apes or something. A planet where they don't understand it. They don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah. They learn to warship it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, fucking Cube. That's what we're talking about, right?
We are. We are ostensibly talking about Cube.
This avoids... Because I've gone on about this before, is that whenever there's a movie where people have to escape a place, it can get really dicey. Mm-hmm. In this case, the place is designed to keep them in. This predates Saw, doesn't it?
Yes, by several years.
It feels like it predates a lot of things that were inspired by it.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Saw
sure.
being one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure Saw was partially inspired by it, yeah.
Yeah. But unlike a lot of movies that do this, it, like I said, it has sort of a built-in protection in the screenplay where the stakes are very high because they don't have food. It's a controlled environment. And yet there's still an extremely frustrating moment. And I feel like you might know what that moment is.
Maybe. What are you thinking?
Right at the end. When the idea, so the way the cube works is there's numbers on all the hatches. Mm-hmm. And they use the numbers, they're like prime numbers. And they realize, oh, the prime numbers are the safe ones. They later realize it's not that simple. but they use the numbers and they figure out the design of the cube so they know where to go.
Yeah,
right?
The numbers are both... They do this in an interesting way where it avoids the pitfalls of a movie like Don't Breathe, where it's like, it's not a situation like, well, why can't you just like walk straight? Well, because there's some rooms are trapped, and then like they reveal new things about the cube. So once they think they've solved it, they hit a wall, and then they find out something else. It's like, oh, it's not just the prime numbers aren't necessarily a thing, but these are coordinates on a 3-dimensional space. It's like, it's kind of like a map. But then they hit a wall with that too, and then they realize the cube itself is shifting like a Rubik's cube. So the rooms are moving. And so then they figure out from there that they can use the numbers to predict it. The numbers give you all of the cube's coordinates as it moves through the larger cube. So then you can figure out, we know when this room will be back where it's supposed to be. So they realize they reveal new things about it as they go forward, which is a good way to avoid frustrating moments that can arise with this kind of premise.
They realize that one of the rooms is a bridge because they realize it's outside of the grid. It's the only cube with coordinates outside. And then they get to the edge of the cube and they realize that, there's a gap between us and the outer wall. The guy who had designed the outer wall knows that there's a single exit. And it all, I really like this idea. They realize at the very end that the bridge was the room they started in.
Yeah.
Which is a really mean reveal. What I like about that is it implies only one thing about their captors, that they're lazy. That they literally just hucked their bodies in the first room.
Yeah, they didn't go any deeper into the cube.
Yeah. Like, because they must have thought, like, what if they move really fast through? They might get out.
Yeah.
But I assume maybe they hucked them in the first, and then the cube moved around a bit, if they had just stayed in one place, they would have gotten out, which is a great idea.
It's a great idea. Also, technically, they all started in different rooms. That's the room where they all came together.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
So it's not actually where they started, but...
Yeah. But, they are able to do a lot with it. They what I really liked is, like, first of all, it's only 90 minutes. And that helps.
Yeah.
And they do a lot with, like, like you said, hitting walls, getting more frustrated, characters slowly taking a turn. They also have a few, they have the room where you can't make a sound. They actually go through a trap room, which was a cool idea, because it was sort of like the evolution of this, is that they hit a trap room that's sound activated, and they realize, like, okay, well, we can go back, or we can just not make a sound in this room. And they decide to go through, and since it's every side of the cube is there's a hatch, they have to go from the ceiling, so they're like using every part of the cube is my point. Also, I just looked it up. It is just one room. They only built one room, which is surprising to me, because it means that they must have had some like I figured they at least did two, because there's scenes where you're looking into the rooms,
right? But you're only seeing a little bit of it, so they probably only built as much of it as you need to see. They
probably only built the wall into the room.
Yeah, that's all. That's all you'd need.
They also shot it by color, because all the rooms have different colors, right? But, like, there's a white room, blue room, red room, and they go back and forth between different colors.
And this green, too, I think, yeah.
Yeah, they just set up different color gels, shot all those scenes, set up the next color, shot all those scenes. So I can't imagine this was even... It probably didn't take very long to film.
No?
It's really one of those movies that you can only do once. I think that's what it is. You know what it is, Tom?
What is it?
It's the David Blaine street magic of movies. Which, that's actually a bad comparison, because I don't think people like David Blaine. But if you remember David Blaine's street magic...
I do.
it was one of those things that you can that was in the era when we were like really rock hard for magic specials.
Mm-hmm.
And he did something we hadn't seen before. And a lot of his tricks were like, not that impressive. A lot of them, he did a lot of plants and like, it's all lying. They're liars. But we had never seen that before. And it was all like gritty and on the streets. And he was like cool and Gen X-y. And then like you can't really do that again. Someone will call you an asshole if you do that again.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what this is. It's very like of its time, 90s. Like I think of this in like The Matrix and Dark City.
Yeah.
And The 13th Floor.
I mean, The Matrix had way more money than this movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. Then just Dark City and The 13th Floor.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Which are kind of like The Matrix. But like, like it was like we're doing these really cool sci-fi kind of gothic, The Crow, like gritty, weird movies.
Yeah.
And I love them all.
Yeah. No, I agree. I enjoy all of those movies.
You remember how Vincent D'Onofrio's in The 13th Floor?
I do, yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
I kind of sidetracked you earlier. You were going to say the part of the movie that frustrates you, which is when they're at the very end.
Oh, it's very funny that I forgot that.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing me back there.
Yeah.
They get to they get to the end.
Mm-hmm.
They get to the bridge. They open the fucking thing. There's this white light that goes through, and they don't move.
No.
One of the characters sits down and starts talking about how he doesn't deserve to leave. And the woman is like, no, you deserve to leave. If I was that woman, I'd be like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And I would leap the fuck out of there. It's infuriating. I think for a lot of people, it's enough to ruin the movie.
Maybe.
I think that could be a killer because they could have done it better. Because what happens is I know there's other movies that do this too. It's just it's like they know it's timed. They know it's on a timer. They don't have much time, and they stop to fucking talk before leaving, and that gives the bad guy enough time to sneak up behind them and start stabbing them.
Yes,
and it feels like people doing like literally the opposite of what a human being would ever do.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It is that, but it's also I think it's not totally unearned. Because the character of Worth starts out being real bleak and nihilistic about it because we then learn that he knows at least the idea of what it is because he helped build part of it. So he doesn't think there's a way out. And then that as the movie progresses, Quentin becomes the bad guy, and then Worth kind of shifts into the role of not really the leader, but like kind of the dad of the group. Like he's trying to keep everybody together and keep everybody safe. And that's really his only function. And then so when he gets to the end, he feels bad about all of it because he just decided to be part of it. He didn't know what he was building, but he was happy to take the money and not ask any questions. And now several people are dead because of that. So he's just like, I'm just going to sit down. I don't deserve to leave here. I don't have anything out there anyway. And what we know about the girl, Levin, at that point, it's like she's going to at least try to get him to come out because she's not a cold person.
Right. It's just very selfish of him because he should just be like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Right. It is. It's a dumb decision to make, but it's not, I'm just saying it's not completely unearned.
Not completely.
You could see why his character would be like, you know what, I'm just going to stay in the cube.
Also,
and you would understand why Levin wouldn't just immediately be like, all right, bye. Like that's pretty cold.
If you think of a movie like a painting, like a piece of art.
Oh, Jesus.
I know. These things make more sense because they're trying to say stuff. Characters are more theatrical. Mm-hmm. If you think of this movie as more like an art piece than a film that's supposed to be realistic,
yeah,
then it works more. And I think movies like this you can sort of think of it that way. And when I was younger, I could think of that easier. Like, this didn't bother me as much when I first saw it when I was young. But then when you just, like, there's a lot of people who see movies not like that. They just see them as human beings, as characters.
Right, everything is literal. Everything is face value.
Right, which makes it very frustrating.
Yeah.
By the way, I was going to say, is his name Worth because he feels like he has no worth? Mm-mm. But then I looked at the other characters' names, Tom, and you want to know something?
Oh, I know this, but please tell the audience.
Oh, okay. Well, Levin and Worth, if that sounds familiar, that's Leavenworth Prison.
Yeah.
Kazan is named after Kazan Prison in Russia. Quentin McNeil, or San Quentin State Prison, and McNeil Island Correction Center. Holloway, Dr. Holloway is a women's prison. The French guy is named after a French prison. And the last guy is also named after a prison camp. They're all named after prisons.
Yes.
And I guess originally in the script they were supposed to be prisoners at one point. But they didn't do that.
Yeah, you can see shades of that idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
they're wearing like prison uniforms.
Yeah, they're wearing like prison jumpsuits with their names on it. Yeah. You get shades of, like, you can see how this was originally a movie about hell, because it's sort of like you could see a version of this movie that would later on become something like Devil, where it's like, oh, they're all stuck on the elevator for a reason. Like, they all did something bad. Right. So that was probably an element of the script originally. But we don't need all that shit. It's fine. We don't. It's fine. It's fine that they're just people stuck in a box.
You know what this is? You haven't seen the movie Mother.
I haven't.
Or sorry, Mother.
Yeah.
Is how it's
Mother.
titled. People don't make films like that anymore, which is films that are purely symbolic. Mm-hmm. Mother is not supposed to be a real life. It's supposed to mean something. And I don't want to spoil Mother, but because of my background, I had no idea what it symbolized. And to other people, it's so obvious that it's dumb. Mm-hmm. And I think Cube is kind of a movie you have to see that way, because the characters, the way they act, isn't, like I said, isn't reflective of reality, and they aren't in Mother either. And I think we don't realize it right away if a movie is like that. You know, they don't advertise a movie like that. And so it tends to get the wrong audience. Like Mother, I think, is a movie that a lot of people probably watched and they were like, what the fuck? And I'm pretty sure it got really mixed reviews for this reason, is if people thought it was supposed to be like a horror movie based in reality, it's nonsense. And I guess Cube is kind of on that line, because Cube can be taken at face value.
It can be.
But it can be interpreted as hell. Mm-hmm. Because hell does make way more sense for, like, Worth. And being, like, not willing to leave, or purgatory, or whatever.
Yeah, and then it's also kind of about the individual's role in society, and how we sort of, because they talk about it a lot, how we sort of just allow systems of oppressive, sinister power to endure just because we're so individually focused.
Right. There's a very like ham-fisted scene, but it is sort of the point of the movie, which is when they're talking to the guy, when they're asking, like, how did this happen? And one person theorizes, like, you know, oh, it's aliens, or oh, it's a rich weirdo, or it's the government. And then Worth is like, no, it's none of those things. It's just bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It's just someone made this, someone made that, and then it had to be, then, like, we had to justify why it was there, so we had to use it. And they never answer it, but it is, and then it's the idea that he was part of that system, just like the cop is part of that system, because they never look at the big picture. They just look at what's in front of them. Mm-hmm.
And they all kind of are. Just in the way that all people kind of are, to some degree. Right. Everybody's to some degree, everybody's a cog in the machine.
Yeah, and you can use it to symbolize a lot of things,
Yeah.
religion or capitalism, where it's also that people are in this big machine, they can't get out, they're desperate, and they slowly turn on each other, and it's really easy to leave people behind, or in the case of the bad guy, to drop people to their deaths, to actually harm other people. It's rats in a maze. And it doesn't need to mean more than that, but it clearly is supposed to mean more than that.
Or it could.
Yeah, I think. Do you think? I mean, again, starting from the idea that this is about hell.
Yeah, I think it's kind of both.
Yeah, it reminds me of a cutscene from the film Dogma, in which the demon, played by Jason Lee, explains that hell was never suffering at first; it was just absence from God, is how he puts it. But ultimately, it's the idea of people who are all trapped with their own hang-ups and their own sins, driving each other insane.
Yeah. Well, that's the way. I think that's the way it's described too. In maybe not in the Bible, but definitely in Milton in Paradise Lost. It's not fire and brimstone. That is verbatim how it's described. It's the absence of God.
Right. I mean, I guess I should have known that Kevin Smith didn't originate that.
No.
But yeah, it's kind of what this is as well. It's just put enough people in. It's The Mist.
Yeah, kind of. It's less about paranoia. This specific movie.
Right. There's a little bit. There's the one guy.
It's really just Quentin. Honestly.
Yeah, and Worth, because Worth designed it. He's doing stuff like he's throwing Worth into each cube room to test it. Worth has lost all of his humanity in the eyes of Quentin.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's otherism and justifying cruelty. And Quentin feels like, well, he's a cop. He's a good man. He's clearly the better one. But then it clearly, there's also I didn't even remember this. There's also a subplot where he's clearly a weird pervert for the young woman, the student, because the doctor kind of calls him out as probably a wife beater, probably hits his kid, probably has a thing for young women, and he slaps her, and it's very clear that she hit a nerve.
Yeah.
So it's self-righteousness, but under it all is this clear sickness.
Yeah.
In him. I wonder if the people represent different aspects of society.
They seem to.
Yeah.
At least in parts. One's a doctor, one's a student, one's disabled. One is
French.
One is French, yeah. No, one's a prisoner, one's a criminal.
Right, yeah.
And one is a quote-unquote average office person.
Office guy.
Like a real anonymous part of the workforce.
Right. They also represent a lot of different beliefs, like apathy or conspiracy theorist or, fascism, authoritarianism, a certain amount of innocence for Kazan.
For Kazan, yeah. It's because he's essentially a small child.
Right. And how they treat him says a lot about them, which again is it's almost how you end up not liking anybody, because none of them really treat him well except for Holloway.
Holloway and Worth are nice to him.
Oh, you're right. Worth is nice to him. Yeah.
But Levin is surprisingly mean to him.
Yeah,
and I think that's because she represents intellectualism.
Oh.
To a degree, because she's snappy to Quentin about it, because Quentin becomes increasingly more of a just a bastard.
Yeah,
but she's immediately upset and not upset. She's immediately disdainful of Kazan when he shows up.
She acts almost disgusted by him.
Yeah.
Whereas McNeil is angry at him.
Quentin's angry because he's this guy's a liability, and she's kind of adopting the same thing, but
Right, until he has used to them. And
Right,
suddenly,
right.
Yeah, everybody, they're they're either trying to use him or they think he's in the way. Mm-hmm. And then the people who are like, there's people who are genuinely compassionate towards him. Like Worth doesn't seem to like go out of his way to defend him. But he's not a dick to him.
Right. And Holloway is like genuinely compassionate for him, and because she's a doctor.
Yeah, she's not too much of a
not really
bad person. She's just kind of a nut. Like,
yeah, she's kind of a nut. Yeah.
You know, like you don't want to put her on Twitter.
No, yeah, she would be the worst on Twitter.
She'd have a thing or two to say about vaccinations. Like she wouldn't be. She would ultimately be maybe a
QAnon.
Negative influence on society.
She'd be sharing QAnon posts on Facebook for sure. I don't know that she'd necessarily be anti-vax because she's a doctor, but that doesn't mean anything.
That's true.
Yeah,
she'd be one of them doctors who went on TV to talk about coronavirus or whatever. Those weirdos. Yeah. So I don't know. She doesn't do bad things. In fact, does more good than bad. But you get the I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I just didn't like her.
Maybe
this is on me.
She's real. Yeah, she's real pushy about she's real pushy and over the top at first when they're all getting to know each other, but then it's like, well, yeah, she never really does anything.
No, I think it's because she's immediately unhinged.
Yeah,
and that might be it. But yeah, it's I don't know, interesting film.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it has a lot of problems, I would say.
Yeah,
mostly that it's dated.
Yeah, it's not extremely so, but it is dated.
And that ending, I think, is liable to piss a lot of people like myself off. But yeah, ultimately, I don't know. It's fun. They should have had Worf in there, but it's fun.
Yeah, have Worf in there tripping all the traps.
Mm-hmm. There's a similar Star Trek episode where Picard gets, I believe, replaced by a doppelganger, and he's in like a weird prison with a bunch of other aliens. And there's like a real wussy alien, and then there's like a Klingon type alien. I don't think it's a Klingon. There's like, you know, like a Romulan or something in there.
Sure.
One of them is like they keep giving him these like gross little like goo pucks to eat, and one of them can't eat it, and he's like really, really into eating one of the other ones, and Picard has to like kind of hold him off the whole time. Like he's like oddly diplomatic about it. Like he's like, okay, I won't eat him right now, but like I swear if this keeps going for any longer, I'm gonna have to eat him. And he's like very matter of fact, and it's like you're kind of on his side. Like he's hungry, he's gonna have to eat somebody. You know, what else are you gonna do? It's just like Cube.
It's exactly like Cube, yeah.
Yeah. Because they would start eating each other or drinking their piss.
Yeah, at one point.
Yeah. Oh, I drink my piss immediately. Are you kidding?
Drink my piss and start eating myself.
Yeah, any chance to do that. Any other thoughts on Cube?
No, I think we've pretty well covered it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, it's Cube.
It's Cube. I don't know. That's it. It's Cube.
A lot of Cube stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's a central theme of the film Cube.
Thanks to Burrito Mouth.
Thank you, Burrito Mouth, for bringing us Cube.
For bringing us, giving us, for me, a trip down memory lane with Cube.
Yeah. Give me a Cube to munch on.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch the whole series now. You know, you can't just start Cube.
I think you can.
Oh.
I think you can go the entire rest of your life.
Okay, yeah, maybe you're right. Folks, Burrito Mouth did this through our Patreon. And if you're interested, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have exclusive podcasts there, such as Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We have tiers where you can make us watch movies like Cube or Sphere. Or is there a Triangle movie, Tom?
I mean, Stargate, technically.
Is there a movie called Triangle?
Maybe. Probably.
Right, Triangle
odds
movie.
Are good.
There's a film called Triangle. You can make us watch The Circle.
Mm-hmm. Really, anything that shapes.
Yeah, only shapes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, check it out.
Yeah. We also have a store, tpublic.com/store/gameplayedemployed, where you can get t-shirts, masks, stickers, mugs, posters, all kinds of stuff. Cubes.
Yeah. Should we sell cubes? Can we sell cubes?
Probably. We should see if we can sell cubes.
Yeah, probably. Or like you can take our products and mash them up into a little cube.
Mm-hmm. You can do
then
this.
You got yourself a cube.
Get yourself
and then
a cube.
You eat it.
And then you eat it.
Eat it like an apple.
Mm-hmm. You can munch on that bad boy.
It's delicious. Yum, 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 Tom.
Yeah. Like that.
Yum, yum, yum.
Like we always say. And then you spray acid into Worf's face.
Mm-hmm. Then you eat that. You slurp it up with the spoon. Yum, yum, yum.
Eat his melted beard.